Drake went too far, and Kendrick Lamar is teasing a new Drake jab. Drake released Iceman on May 15th, 2026, and somewhere in between the subliminals, the sneak peeks, and the lyrical therapy session, he put his foot somewhere he had no business putting it. This is not the rap battle line, not the back and forth bar for bar line, the real line, the one you don't come back from, the one that makes a man who already bodied you on a Grammy stage, at the Super Bowl, and in front of the entire culture. He attacked Kendrick's neighborhood. He attacked Kendrick's group. He referred to everything that Kendrick stands for as phony. The streets are now reporting that dot is loading, the internet is trembling, and, family, we are dissecting from the start to the present. This one dives deep, so don't wear a cap and buckle up. Many people are taking this as simply another back and forth or rap feud, but this is not that. Gang, so you all need to hear this. Two of the biggest rappers in the world are at odds over who should rule this culture, while having very distinct identities and moral philosophies. And you have to know what each of these men stands for in order to comprehend why Drake just made the biggest error of round two. Kendrick Lamar is actually from Compton, California, not in a metaphorical or artistic sense. Growing up, he witnessed gang violence engulf his community. He saw his loved ones disappear into the streets. And rather than fleeing from that, he rushed toward it via art, music, and purpose. To pimp a butterfly. Oh no, Mr. Morale. Family, these aren't simply albums. They're confessionals. These are therapy sessions for a whole generation of black males who had no words to describe their experiences. Not only did Kendrick rap about the hood, but even after he left, he continued to carry the hood with him. Drake, on the other hand, is among the best commercial artists of all time. Let me be honest. Let me be completely honest. Nobody is stealing that from him. The business moves, the charisma, and the hits are all exceptional. Here's what you need to know about Drake, though. His brand is status, luxury, and aspirational. He came from Degrassi and used his intelligence and determination to become a rap legend. That is true. However, there has always been uncertainty about his relationship with the streets. People have always pulled at that. And Kendrick yanked that thread out completely in 2024. Thus, Not Like Us wasn't merely a diss track when it was released on May 4th, 2024. That was a cultural decision. It wasn't just a rap fight that Kendrick won. He revealed to the entire society his perception of Drake's true nature. He then carried out that verdict during the Super Bowl. With it, he won the Grammy Awards. Drake also filed a lawsuit against his own label. He released a collaborative album. He released freestyles of. He made every effort. Not a single one of them landed. Not even near. When Iceman is released on May 15th, 2026, we will be working on that planet. Before this, that was the scoreboard. So allow me to explain it to you. As the Iceman deployment was chaotic right from the start, Drake doesn't simply release the record. No. He seizes control of Toronto's CN Tower. In the run-up to the release, he hosts 4 episodes of a YouTube live stream series. He's acting theatrically. He's attempting to turn this into a cultural moment through. To be honest, there was a spectacle. There was the energy. Things really got serious in the 4th episode of that live feed. Drake gives lyrics a sneak peek during the webcast. In just a few minutes, the ones regarding Kendrick went viral. This is the actual tea. This is one of the most talked about previewed lines. White children pay attention to you because it makes them feel guilty, which fulfills your soul. You return to the hills after giving out turkeys in your neighborhood on camera. Go back and read that. Read it once more. Drake has no intention of pursuing Kendrick's songs. Drake has no intention of pursuing Kendrick's bars. Drake says, your whole conscious rap thing, it's a performance. The only reason your fan base supports you is because white liberals feel bad about race. And the community service you conduct in Compton by giving out turkeys is just a photo opportunity. After returning to your hilltop mansion, the album is released. 3 tasks at once. Khabibti, Iceman, and Maid of Honor. And Kendrick's shadow is all over Iceman in particular, which is the bar-heavy, resentful, score-settling project. Drake raps, "What was the year that they say you had slaps?" on the song Dust. Because I don't remember it going like that. I don't remember a single word in your raps, he says, casting doubt on Kendrick's repertoire and his ability to create hits. Drake goes one step further on Make Them Pay, stating, 100 million streams vanished. No one got questions for N, in reference to the streaming dispute. The UMG case was dismissed in October 2025, but Drake is still attempting to make Kendrick's success seem fake. Additionally, there is another bar that is currently the subject of intense discussion. At 1 in the morning, the M. In Albany, Drake raps, Muggsy Bogues dunked for once, comparing Kendrick's height to the renowned 5 feet 3 inches NBA point guard. Even I'm a little in awe. Give the child a raise, please. That isn't the line that crossed everything, but it is small and trivial. The streets claim that the line, the turkey bars, the white guilt bars caused Kendrick to put down his phone and begin composing. However, this is where things get insane because people are wondering, hasn't Drake previously tried this? He's missed shots before, hasn't he? Yes, and that's what's so fascinating about this. Let me explain. Following Kendrick's Grammy sweep in February 2025, which included 5 awards, including Record of the Year and Song of the Year for Not Like Us, Drake dropped a collaborative project with Party Next Door called Some Sexy Songs for You on Valentine's Day 2025, subtle jabs on a song called Give Me a Hug, and the culture shrugged. Every time Drake has entered the ring in this particular beef since Not Like Us dropped, he has either missed or landed. Then, in January 2025, a Drake freestyle titled The Hard Irish Freestyle surfaced, drawing criticism from Kendrick, LeBron, and UMG. Hip Hop DX literally said that the tough stuff just feels empty. Later, in July 2025, Drake releases What Did I Miss?, a solo single through OVO and Republic Records. Iceman is more than just an album. It's Drake's entire war fund, everything he's been accumulating since the summer of 2024. More jabs at erstwhile pals, but still little progress on Kendrick in particular. Because this is a 16-track statement rather than a single song, it has more weight, is more coordinated, and is more deliberate. As a result, some of those Kendrick bars land differently than they would have in a single. Because now it's more than just Drake taking a chance. It's Drake creating a story, and the story is that Kendrick Lamar is a liar. His music is for white guilt, his community service is theater, and his streaming stats were inflated. That's a full assault on Kendrick's character, and that's what makes round 2 feel so deadly. Now, here's what actually happened, and this is what I need you to sit with for a moment. There are lines in rap beef that are understood, even though they aren't recorded anywhere. You go after someone's bars, that's rap. You go after their business moves, their come-up story, or their industry politics, that's still rap. You question their hit-making, that's still rap. But when you go after what a man does for his community, or when you call someone's charitable work a performance, you are no longer rapping. Instead, you are assassinating someone's character in an irreversible way. In Compton, Kendrick Lamar distributes turkeys as a way of giving back to the community that shaped him. However, in Drake's bar, this turns into a camera trick, hypocrisy, and proof that Kendrick is acting. That's the shot that landed differently, family. That's the shot that made those who were already on Kendrick's side tighten their grip on the wheel. More significantly, that's the shot that people close to Kendrick are allegedly saying triggered something in dot. This is what you need to know about Kendrick Lamar at his core. This is a man who created an entire album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is about personal responsibility, the burden of celebrity, and how easy it is to lose yourself when everyone is watching. This man attended therapy and included the receipts in the song. When the Super Bowl gave him the biggest stage in American sports, he performed a diss track and called out a man by name in front of 120 million viewers. Not because he was reckless, but because he was certain. He doesn't move without certainty. Therefore, when someone attacks the very thing that Kendrick has been most determined to defend, his integrity, his authenticity, and his connection to his roots, it doesn't make him back down. Instead, it makes him load up something devastating. The streets have always known that real recognizes real, gang, and now there are indications that something is about to happen. The internet has been going completely crazy in the days since Iceman dropped on May 15th, 2026, trying to figure out how Kendrick reacts. YouTube is overflowing with reaction videos. X, formerly Twitter, has been running hot with takes, and then something started circulating. This is where it gets crazy, and I need you all to pay attention to everything I'm about to say, because this is the piece most channels are sleeping on. Word began to circulate that Kendrick had been in the studio, that something was being previewed internally, that it had already heard Iceman, and had been writing since before it even hit streaming. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you all I've heard the actual track. That would be cap. However, what I can tell is what the credible voices in this space are saying. Several people close to the situation, people who had early access to GNX, and people who were aware of Watch the Party Die before it dropped. And those same sources are aware that Kendrick Lamar does not react to noise. Rather, he reacts to disrespect. Real disrespect, the kind that attacks the foundation. And Drake, with Janice SDFU and those turkey bars, gave Kendrick exactly the kind of disrespect that cannot leave on the table, because doing so would mean Drake's narrative wins. It would imply that the public accepts the notion that Kendrick's activism is phony. And if you know anything about Kendrick's business practices, he will never allow that to be the final word. There's also the unavoidable timing factor. Not Like Us was briefly removed from some streaming platforms in certain markets during the same week that Iceman was released. Although it returned almost immediately, there was a lot of real-time chatter surrounding that moment. I'm just connecting the dots, family, but the dots are connecting themselves. Let me be a detective for a moment, because I believe the average person is focusing on the wrong Kendrick bars on Iceman and missing where Drake actually did the most strategic damage. And some people with more industry knowledge than the average fan are reading that not as a glitch, but as positioning. Like someone clearing the board to make room for something new. The Muggsy Bogues height bar is the one that's going viral on TikTok, and while it's a shot, Kendrick has been aware of height jokes his entire career. He's Compton royalty, and even though he's 5'5" in a culture that celebrates him, that bar doesn't move Dot's needle or wake him up at 3 in the morning. The White Guilt fanbase bar is the one that wakes him up because it is made expressly to do something cunning, to sow doubt in Kendrick's fan base about the sincerity of their appreciation, and to make a white kid who loves Damn feel strange about that love. It's also intended to make the black community ask Kendrick, is your success really ours, or is it a product of white liberal consumption? This is a poisonous bar that's meant to corrode rather than just amuse, and the thing that most people aren't saying out loud is that it's also a strategic diversion. What does Drake do on Iceman? The culture has been questioning Drake's authenticity for 10 years, and his main credibility issue throughout this feud has been his own authenticity. The accusations of ghostwriting, the question of whether he is truly from where he claims to be. Actually, you're the one performing, he replies, flipping the script and blaming Kendrick for lacking authenticity. You are the one whose audience doesn't truly comprehend what you stand for. It's a judo move. That's not brute force. Rather, it's an attempt to reroute the energy that knocked him unconscious and aim it back at the man who threw it. It's a risky, calculated move, not because it's true, but because it raises a question where none should have been raised. In addition, there's the streaming narrative. 100 million streams vanished, Drake rapped. Nobody asked any questions. Drake wants to delegitimize his victory against Kendrick in a bar fight, which is why he is attempting to maintain the UMG litigation narrative in the public consciousness even after the courts rejected it in October 2025. The true play on Iceman is not, I'm better than you, but rather creating enough uncertainty that Not Like Us becomes an asterisk rather than a clean knockout. It's your triumph was tainted, and that's a completely different type of approach. Let's take a moment to discuss the song, Ran to Atlanta, because it is subtly significant. Drake recruits Future for this record. This is the same Future who was on Like That, the Metro Boomin' and Future track, where Kendrick fired the opening shot that started this entire war in March 2024. By getting Future back on a record, Drake is symbolically stating, I've reclaimed alliances. I'm reconstructing. Additionally, the line, you run to Atlanta when you need a check balance from Not Like Us is clearly addressed in the lyric. Drake turns it around. He's taking back Atlanta, Future, and that story. It's more than just a jab. The streets have been talking about this for months, and even before Iceman hit, Drake had been hinting at this angle with the Fighting Irish freestyle and the What Did I Miss single. That's a chess play, and Kendrick, who thinks several moves ahead, completely recognized precisely what that means. That's not just rap talk, fam. That's a man who hasn't made peace with what happened. That's a man who is genuinely hurt. All of this was building to this consolidated argument on Iceman. The culture was manipulated into crowning Kendrick, and Drake is openly stating on record that he won't accept that verdict. Iceman just gave Kendrick the blueprint to complete this, and the internet went crazy in the most polarizing way imaginable. A truly hurt man with a recording budget and a grievance is volatile. But here's the thing about that. It also makes him predictable because he knows exactly what buttons to push now. On the one hand, Drake devotees claim that Iceman is his best work in years, and from a creative standpoint, the album does show Drake rapping with energy and intention that some felt had been lacking. The production is heavy, the pen feels engaged, and even non-Drake fans claim that the bars on Iceman are not what the Heart Part 6 was. On the other hand, the majority side, based on X discourse and YouTube comments, is pointing out that motivation isn't the same as winning, that returning to the ring after being knocked out doesn't mean the rematch goes differently just because you're angry. Several reliable critics are pointing out that the Kendrick shots on Iceman are substantive but still feel reactive, like Drake is still operating in Kendrick's world on Kendrick's terms. Every time he mentions Not Like Us, he's prolonging the life of the song that ruined him. Let's take a moment to discuss the rollout's optics because this is important. Drake takes over Toronto's CN Tower, performs a 4-episode YouTube livestream, and releases 3 albums at once. Drake released 2 more albums, Habibti and Maid of Honor. That is a tremendous amount of work and spectacle, and in today's culture, when you have to work so hard to announce yourself, when the rollout is bigger than the response to the music, that's a flag. Drake also released his highly anticipated new Iceman album, taking over Toronto with an icy-looking CN Tower and a livestream. LeBron James hasn't responded to Drake's jabs at him on Iceman, and Kendrick dropped Not Like Us with essentially no rollout, livestream, or takeover, just a beat and bars, and it broke the internet in 4 hours. That contrast alone tells you something about where the culture actually is. The Iceman event was undeniably impressive visually, but when the conversation about the rollout outweighs the conversation about the actual lyrics, that's a problem for an artist trying to win a lyrical war. In essence, Make Them Remember accuses LeBron of being a traitor for going to Kendrick's pop-out concert in 2024. LeBron's silence is loud and reveals something about the current cultural climate. People are not rushing to support Drake, and J. Cole, who received subliminals on Iceman, has also remained silent. The silence surrounding Iceman from people who were supposed to be Drake's supporters, Travis Scott, DJ Khaled, and Rick Ross, says more than any lyric analysis. I want to draw attention to DJ Khaled in particular because Drake called him out for remaining silent during the beef, claiming that Khaled went halal and got on his Dean when things got hot. That's a real shot, and the fact that Khaled, who has been one of Drake's loudest co-signers for years, hasn't responded, which shows how toxic the Drake brand feels to people right now. Nobody wants to be associated with the losing side of this culture war, and Kendrick will definitely use the silence from former allies as a weapon if he responds. In the meantime, the Kendrick camp has not made any public statements, including subtweets, ambiguous Instagram activity, or studio photos for clout. And that silence is the most unsettling thing of all because when Kendrick goes silent, it's because he's working. Let me take a moment to zoom out because this beef is no longer just Drake and Kendrick. It hasn't been in a long time. This beef is about the soul of hip-hop, and I know that sounds dramatic, but listen to me. Kendrick's stance, which he expressed on Watch the Party Die on GNX and most clearly on Not Like Us, is that hip-hop needs to return to authenticity, lyricism, and depth, and that the era of hip-hop being primarily about luxury, flexing, brand deals, and spectacle without substance is something that needs to be challenged. Drake is the person who demonstrated that hip-hop could be pop music on a global scale, that you could be from Degrassi, avoid the traditional street credential pipeline, and still dominate the culture for 15 years through relatability, melody, and cultural agility. He used the victory as an argument for a particular kind of music, for a particular kind of artist. That's true, and many younger musicians who grew up during Drake's era owe their entire lane to what he created. As a result, when Drake attacks Kendrick's conscious rap identity and Kendrick reportedly prepares a response, they are not merely disparaging one another. Rather, they are debating what hip-hop is meant to be, what it's for, who it's for, and which version of it deserves to sit at the top of the culture. Consider every significant rap feud in history that truly meant more than just amusement. At a time when New York hip-hop was struggling to remain relevant against the South, Jay-Z versus Nas wasn't just about who had better bars. It was about who represented New York authentically. Common versus Ice Cube was about the direction black art should take. Pusha T versus Drake. And yes, that beef is woven throughout this current one, was about whether manufactured images could withstand real truth. These bars about white guilt fan bases are so loaded, gang, because Drake is basically saying, your version of hip-hop is not authentic either. Every significant beef carried an argument about the culture beneath the surface, and this one, Drake versus Kendrick, is the argument of this generation and the one they'll be writing about in 20 years. It's simply a performance of a different kind. Here's the real tea about where this goes from here, and I want you to think about what you know about Kendrick's patterns. If he responds the way the streets think he's about to, he's going to have to respond to that accusation with something more than just bars. He's going to have to respond with a statement that can't be argued with, a statement so airtight, so rooted in truth and craft that the culture can't look away. If anyone can do that. The releases of Euphoria on April 30th, 2024, and Not Like Us on May 4th, 2024, were swift due to Drake's hectic schedule, but the more in-depth Kendrick responses, Meet the Grahams, the Grammy campaign, the pop-out concert, and the Super Bowl performance were planned and took months to complete. While everyone else is playing checkers, Kendrick plays chess. Therefore, the question is not whether he will respond to Iceman, but rather when and how. Will he release a conventional diss track? That's possible, but Kendrick has never been conventional. He's the one who turned a response into a full-fledged creative campaign. He's the guy who made Drake's ex-girlfriend Serena Williams do the crypt walk at the Super Bowl as a subliminal. He doesn't just rap at you. He creates environments where you have no winning move. So the response to Iceman, if and when it comes, might not sound like what you expect. Some in the industry claim that Kendrick waits, lets the Iceman roll out, has its moment, and lets Drake feel like he's reclaimed some cultural ground. That would be very Kendrick, patient, and surgical, the kind of move that makes you think he planned it. Drake gave Kendrick the moral high ground on a golden platter, and in hip-hop, the combination of superior lyricism and moral high ground is what ends careers. This is the one thing that everyone needs to understand about what's coming. Drake gave Kendrick something to talk about beyond music by attacking the community work, calling the activism fake, and trying to reframe Kendrick's entire identity as a performance. That's the combination that turned Not Like Us from a diss track into a cultural anthem. And if Kendrick builds his response around defending what he truly stands for, the community, the craft, the Compton roots, Drake has no counter that doesn't sound hollow. This isn't a game, family. This is the culture at stake, and it's only getting started. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Is Kendrick currently in the studio? In my opinion, Drake crossed a line that Kendrick cannot ignore. The turkey bars and the white guilt bars are not rap bars. They are character assassination. Is Iceman the bar that finally responds to appropriately? Or does Kendrick take the high road and let culture speak for him once more? And Kendrick Lamar is not the kind to let someone write his character for him. Here's what I know for sure. This culture is watching. Every artist, producer, A&R, and fan who has an interest in what hip-hop will look like in 2026 and beyond is watching this unfold in real time. And whoever makes the next move will say something about what this generation of rap truly values. That's everything. It's not insignificant. Leave a comment with your thoughts. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Because we will unfilteredly tear it down when Kendrick responds, as the streets tell me he is. Maximum respect for all the facts and the true ones. Stay tuned as usual. Tranquility.